What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Debate. I'm your host, Howard Henley. As you can see, we have a brand new panel. To my left, we have Jacqueline, and we also have Courtney. And to my right, we have Lauren, and we have TJ. Now, December of last year will be a day that is engraved in every American's life. A gunman let loose at a Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut, killing over a dozen people. This marked mass hysteria around the United States, prompting the question, should our schools be equipped with armed guards and soldiers? So we want to hear from our panel. Jackie, what is your stance on that?
My stance is no, Howard. I think that our school system is broken. So to put this energy on the possibility of a possible gunman going into the school and shooting it up, the funds need to go towards having teachers and educating our students. Just because one person went and shot up a school doesn't mean someone's going to shoot up every school. I think we're ignoring the real issue, which is mental health. Most of the people who go up and shoot up schools aren't mentally sound. Our culture doesn't want to embrace that mental health is an issue we need to address. So if they address that, there won't be people shooting up schools, so there'll be no need for them. Also, we're having a very violent, gun-happy culture. Everything is about violence. Let's shoot you up, you shoot me up. That's not a way to resolve issues. We need to be able to talk through issues without always having to resort to violence.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. Courtney?
My response is the only thing that's going to happen with having armed guards in schools is more shooting and more disasters that could possibly happen. So my answer is absolutely not. There should not be armed guards in schools. Agreeing on every level with Jackie here, financially it doesn't make any sense. There's no proof that it actually will help. And in the end, as devastating as the Sandy Hook massacre was, that is an anomaly. It is not a norm. And I think there's many other issues we should be addressing with funds and with our energy and with our time outside of putting guns in the schools with guards.
Okay, thank you. Lauren?
I think yes. I think we absolutely need armed guards. I think we need to get ahead of this. Sometimes just having that show of force deters some of the violence, but you can't bring muscle to a gunfight. I think that we really need them there because we're seeing patterns. Like, no, it doesn't happen every day, but it's happening every year, more than once a year. These are our children. We need to protect them, and bad guys have guns, so the good guys need to have them too. The ones that are mentally sound, the ones that are tested and trained to use them to protect our kids. Yes.
Okay, thank you. TJ?
I totally agree with her. I feel like our children are our most precious resource, and we have guards that guard, money at banks. We have officials that are guarded with Secret Servicemen. Why can't we guard our children, these helpless, defenseless children, from going to school and wanting to get education? I think it's ridiculous the fact that these things are happening and they shouldn't happen, but the fact that they are happening, we need to get in front of this situation and say, we're gonna make provisions so that every child feels safe going to school. And that's why I say we should have armed guards.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, well, you heard from the panel. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Debate, everybody. Again, I'm your host, Howard Henley. Today's topic, should our schools be equipped with armed guards? So some people say yes, some people say no. Jackie, you brought up a great point, and I think that's something that we really need to touch on, especially in the African-American community. We don't really like to discuss mental health. A lot of things really have to be solved in the church. So go ahead and kind of elaborate what you were saying earlier.
Well, like I was saying earlier, Howard, the issue is mental health. So if you're saying that these are incidents we need to protect our children, and that's all good and valid. But the problem is that having guns isn't necessarily going to protect them. Most of these, like Courtney was saying, they're anomalies. So if we deal with the people with their mental health issues, working with them with counseling, whatever issues that they need to be worked through with a counselor, then they won't go shoot up schools. But I don't think that having a gun to shoot someone who may go into a school, I don't think that makes sense. And I think Howard was saying something about, in the Black community, we want to pray and speak with God. That's great, but I think you need to deal with mental health. I think these are all really mental health issues. And I remember, I think when Metta World Peace, when the Lakers won the championship or something, he thanked his psychiatrist. And everybody talked about how that was a big thing for him to do that because we don't like to believe or talk about mental health. So I think it's important.
I don't want to lose focus and try to stray this away to mental health because I think that's an excellent point, but that's not all encompassing because everybody who shoots up schools aren't victims of some kind of mental health issue. I think that we're thinking of people coming into the school who are just just shooting up random schools? What about people who go to those schools who bring guns to school? What about those people who don't have mental health issues?
But how do we know they don't have mental health issues?
We had a
level. Right, if we had a police
not...
officer who didn't care whether they had a mental health issue, was able to stop the infraction from happening, whether you had mental health issues or not.
But we have police on the streets all the time. It doesn't necessarily deter crime. It doesn't
You're
keep
absolutely
people from,
right, but at the same time, in a school where you have defenseless children, somebody should be there to maintain order. And if the teacher can't do it with a chalkboard and a piece of paper or whatever, then we need somebody who can stand up and say, this is what brute force said, look, this is wrong. And
every
this is what
day,
happens.
we need a police officer every day.
Every single day. Every single day. My child's
They need to know every single day. But the issue is not
We're not
money.
talking about funding. We're talking
That
about
all goes into it. You can't
make a decision
just
without
say, let's put guns in every school.
No,
Let's
but
put
we're
police
saying,
officers
is
in
that
every
going to
school.
help?
We can't
The question
fund
is,
them.
will that help? The
Right.
gun's there. Take the money out of it. Is it going to help? I say yes.
I say
People
yes
need
as
to
well.
see.
Should we have armed
A show of force does a lot. When people see that, when they know
would
what's
have no
happening,
crime
what's happening in between the active shooter and then the police getting on the scene. The teachers are having to run, hide, barricade, and whoever got in between, forces getting there. When we know this is a pattern, we know this is happening. Yes, we need to deal with the mental health issue. I'm an advocate for mental health. I've worked with mental health children all the time, but I'm just saying, that's something that's going to take time. And it needs to be integrated in a daily part of maybe the kids, like with the counselor, with
police
the,
officers
that
in
needs
every
to be
school.
there
That's
too.
easy. That's going to
No,
happen
but
overnight.
what you have to understand is the bad guys already have the guns.
So we need to do more to get the guns out of the hands of the bad
But
guys.
they've already got it, and they're continue to get it because they're not getting it the right way. They're not going through the right system to get the guns. So they're
Actually,
going to
some
have
of them
regardless,
are
even if
getting
we
them
take
the right way.
Those-
They're taking
and
them
those
from
are a lot of the
parents. A
kids.
lot of these are
Exactly.
children coming into the schools that are taking them from parents. And you guys say, armed guards in the school is going to help. Columbine had armed security guards. It didn't help.
And we know
Columbine
that
still
they're
got shut
armed?
up. They were armed security guards, and there was one that was actually on site, and the issue was that he couldn't tell who was the actual shooter and who wasn't, and he was a kid with a backpack running through the school. So is he just going to shoot up the school because he knows somebody's in there doing something? You can't assume that just having a gun is going to protect you from somebody else that has a gun.
Okay,
and
so
then
what
to
is
say
not
that
having a
mental
gun
health,
going to do to protect you from a bullet?
because
And
there's
you also-
other options. There are other options than putting armed guards.
that
The
are
same
gonna-
way, take for instance the Sandy Hook. The kids that were saved in the kindergarten classroom where the teachers put them in cabinets. Why not put bulletproof cabinets in the freaking schools so that there's somewhere for the kids to actually go and
Or metal
evacuate and hide?
detectors.
Metal detectors, a beep goes off.
They don't need a salary.
Run constant drills about situations where somebody random could come into the school so everybody knows what to do every time. You don't go in the hallway to find out what's going on. You lock your doors. There's bulletproof glass. There's other options outside of having armed guards walking around with guns with children in schools. It causes anxiety. There's proof that
See, this is the thing. You're talking about.
Let's talk about the anxiety. We need to get out of the idea that we live in this perfect world where things aren't going to happen. It's okay for kids to be afraid because you know what fear does? That helps them from running out in the street without looking twice. We also have to teach them that there's nothing they're afraid of that they can't be protected from. My belief that comes from a supernatural place, but we also have resources on this earth that can protect us from the threats that are real. So I understand the mental health. I understand the lockers and barricade and whatever, and we need to teach the teachers. Do you just run out in the hall? No, we barricade ourselves, whatever. But at the end of the day, when there's a threat, when there's an actual threat, we have to be able to neutralize that threat. And conversations and mental health at that moment's not going to do it.
I totally
Okay, well,
agree.
we already told that the thing that you're saying will neutralize
But
it.
then what
has
happens
not
now?
worked.
But what happens
There's no
now?
proof that it works. ever.
But they had counselors in schools since the beginning of time, and that hasn't
If it
worked.
doesn't- work, why do you have police?
But no, they're not actually
telling you
dealing
what
with mental health
classes to
issues.
take.
No, that's
But
not
if
true all the
a
time.
gun, if a good guy
Response
having
time.
a
Why not
gun
have the
defending the
police
children
officers
never works, how does the police system work? Like, why do our cops have guns in general? Obviously, it
saying
works
that
if you're
cops
fighting the
shouldn't
bad
have
guy.
guns and that cops don't work.
And I
on
think
a
that you
certain
guys are
level.
thinking that we're going to have these guards where they have these assault rifles walking around school, intimidating kids and having them walk on the right and not on the left. I don't think it's like that. I do think there should be a resource officer on campus that's able to
more like
neutralize.
a liaison.
So it would be
Yeah.
like an undercover cop or
Okay.
or something
That
like
would be
that.
great.
That
They
is
had 'em where it
exactly
wasn't
what
totally
was
safe.
at Columbine. They were plainclothes security officers with guns, and it did not work.
And
Now,
how
what
many
we
instances
know-
where they weren't there and it did not work?
But
So just
exactly.
as much proof is that it didn't work.
I
What
want
are
to
we?
go ahead and we got to take a quick break. So we got to go ahead and take a quick break. We will be right back. But before we go, let's see what you all think out there in the Twitter world. Go ahead, Siobhan.
Thanks, Howard. Hey everybody, it's Siobhan Hughes, your social media friend, bringing your tweets and your video responses to life. Let's take a look at what we have today. Our topic of the day, should we have armed guards in schools? At Robin Take Two Act says, guns in schools can be a danger because being able to shoot a gun does not qualify a person to ensure safety of others. At Watchtower Base says, that's a tough one. It would help in case another incident happens, but at the same time, you don't want to make kids think it's prison too. Let's check out our video responses sent in by Christoph.
Hey guys, on the topic of should we have soldiers in our schools to help protect our students and children, I don't really think I can agree with that, although I do see the merits in the argument. On one hand, you can create a safer environment and really lower the percentage or chances of another Columbine or in-school shooting to occur. On the other hand, having a soldier in the hallways, whether it's 1 or 5 or even 10, it doesn't guarantee a solution. While it may try to fix the problem, you can't really predict where these things are going to happen. In addition, I just don't think having a soldier or a military or any sort of militarized force in a school is going to be conducive to learning. You're going to have a major distraction and it's going to kind of feel like a prison. I mean, it's kind of hard to study the giver when you're looking at a gun in the hallway. I don't think it's the right solution, but there's definitely something along those lines that might help without making school turn into a well-guarded prison.
If you want to be a part of our discussion, send us a tweet at The Debate TV Show on Twitter or send us an email to thedebatetvshow@gmail.com. We'll be right back.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Debate. We have a very heated discussion right now. So the topic of the day is, should we employ armed guards in our schools to protect our kids? So TJ, we're gonna go and start off where you left off.
Okay, well, I think that when you talk about how Columbine had armed guards and everything like that, that was a different time, and we weren't expecting these things to happen. Now that we know that this threat is a real threat and these happen more often than not, I think that we have to get these trained individuals with the right resources to come in and protect our children.
But I think they can do that without being on site. Why can't we increase the response time? Why can't the police officers know how to respond in a timely manner? Why do they have to necessarily be on site? I just don't see
Why would you have somebody have to come to the situation when you have someone who's there who can neutralize it immediately?
But
like, why
you're
should we
saying-
wait on a response time?
But this is for a potential threat when there's actual crimes going on. You're saying to take the police officers out of the crime force.
No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that you train individuals to come in and add
which
more.
is more money for the police department, more money for the school departments, and you also said this is happening more often than not. Statistically speaking, that is inaccurate.
Okay, I'll
We're
give
not
you
saying
that.
it's
1 to
happening more
2%
often
of
than not. We're
children
saying it
in
is it's a pattern.
in school-age homicides, 1 to 2% of those happen on school grounds. I'm not trying to say that those lost lives are not worth any more than anybody else, but statistically speaking, that is not a regular occurrence. That's
So
something
your
that is
child, how many times has it happened to your child before it becomes a
Well,
problem?
that's the point. You can always throw that. Oh,
Exactly. How many times has it happened at your
child?
child's school for you to understand that this is something that parents like lose sleep over? Whether or not they're going to send their child.
After the fact, though, why aren't the parents locking up the guns, watching their children, looking? Where's the parenting? It's like the law always has to get involved. Where are the parents?
Well, because we can't
The
control
kids are
how
getting
people
the guns
parent
from
their
their
kids.
parents.
Exactly.
We can protect
They
what
get
happens
the
to
guns
them,
at
but
the
that's
school.
regulated and mandated.
Let me ask
we
you
can't
guys-
control what you do at your house.
Let me go ahead and ask you guys this too. Do you also feel that it might make a difference thinking economically? Where the school is located, what area the school is located, how many people live in the town? Do you think that is a factor on whether or not we should employ these guards in our schools?
I mean, Sandy Hook was a nice, calm, quiet community
A lot
in
of them
Connecticut.
were. And if they
I
weren't,
think
we
it can
probably wouldn't be
affect
talking about
anyone,
it.
which
Right.
is why this whole idea of putting them in all of the schools makes absolutely no sense. Because this is an occurrence that it's like the devil will come and will always exist, and you can't always like do
prepared for
everything
him
to do
every
it.
day.
All you can do.
So we
is
should do nothing.
Yeah.
Do it. Did I say do nothing? I'm sorry. No, absolutely not. I said there's 8 million other things that you can do than spend
To
money.
prevent it, to be proactive.
We live in a
So you
culture
don't
of
think it-
violence already. That's
So do
why
you
this
don't
is
think that it's
happening
going to
begin
cost
with.
money to have these kids look into their mental state? You don't think that costs money either?
No, of course I don't think that it's not going to cost any money.
Okay,
What
so
I
you
am
can't bring
saying,
money
though,
as a factor,
I
though.
think that what you are proposing is is not solving the problem. I
Okay.
think it's only adding to the problem, because we have an issue with children shooting children, and you want to put more guns in their faces saying this is how we're going to fight
Exactly.
you being violent
No, we're
towards other
putting it in
children.
an adult who's
responsible,
trained, who
exactly.
knows
You think
how to
those children
handle
aren't
a
going to
gun.
know that there are armed guards in
Maybe,
their schools?
absolutely, and they need to
They
know.
need to
They
know.
need to
They
understand.
need to know that we should
absolutely.
continue
so
to
they
fight
don't need
violence
to
with
know about
violence.
police. They don't need to know about protection. Yes, they
Police
need to
and
have a
protection
cop there.
versus
They
your
need to know who's
people.
there. They
But
need to
what
know
is the
why. It's very
difference?
easily to have
What
this
is the difference
assembly and
between
like. Like teach them about why they're there, what they're doing, what to look for. It's okay for kids to know that's a gun and guns are bad.
I
But they also
completely
need to
agree.
understand that this person is responsible that's going to protect them. This is the steps that we
Or
employ
a possible
when
threat
things
that may
happen.
never happen in their
Absolutely.
entire
Why do you
life.
put on your seatbelt when you get in the
Right.
car?
Why do
How
you
many
pay
wrecks have
insurance?
you
Because
been in?
a car
And how many
accident
times?
is more likely to happen to
Okay,
you
and a
than
gun
being shot
shot
in
by
by
a
How
a
much-
gun.
how many
And
have
these
you
school
been injured?
shootings
I mean, what about
when
the
we
people
went
that
to
storm at their
school,
office?
these
We don't
school shootings
have
didn't
armed
happen, now
security
they're
guards at
happening.
people's offices. I mean, if that's the case, there's always a
people
threat of
shot at
getting
the
shot up.
mall.
So you need to
There's
have them at the mall, at your church, at your home, at your school, at the playground. I mean, when does it
not-
stop?
And
You can
unfortunately,
always shoot up
maybe
somewhere.
our culture is moving towards that because maybe there's too many like violent acts that are going on
And so
with
a
people
gun-
that are having issues.
Well, that's the problem
Is
right
it night?
there.
It was-
It's
what else is
going
gonna
that
stop
way,
it?
and I'm
So then
deciding
you
that I
so
don't
you're saying
think
that all
that's
this
gonna
counsel,
solve
we
us
should just
going the opposite.
we should
And
just
that's
round up
okay,
everybody
but-
and give them a psychological evaluation before
I'm not saying-
we do everything.
Let me
We're
ask
not
you
saying-
guys. Let me ask you guys this real quick. Have you all noticed a trend with school violence and school shootings? Have you maybe noticed a trend over like the last few years, whether it's in the area or, you know, have you all noticed a trend?
Yeah, it's absolutely increased.
Violence in schools is not new. It's just new that it's happening in massacre-like sizes in little quiet white neighborhoods. Kids are dying in schools and other places that nobody paid any attention to. And the armed guard situation is not necessarily going to change that. They're fighting in the streets and we're not jumping in to help them out. We're not trying to solve the like root issues of these kids that are answering questions about problems that they don't know how to solve with guns. And I'm sorry, the armed guards is not going to solve that problem, which means there's still going to be somebody coming in with an AK-47 and a magazine that can outshoot a freaking 9 revolver or whatever the police would
Right,
have,
and
and
we
it's
need
going to
to-
happen.
right.
So I think you need to go to the root of the problem instead of just saying
Absolutely.
that armed guards will solve everything.
But you
because
can't
it's
go
not
to the
going
root
to.
when it's already happening. You go to the root and you deal with it on the ground floor. You
let's
go to
use-
the lab, you work on everything, but
agree.
you also have to be at the front lines.
Even if it is increasing the possibility, like the
How-
idea
But
that
how do you,
violence
that's not
exists in
that
the
hasn't been
world.
proven.
It's not
like,
about the idea.
Are
It's
you
not
sure
an
about
idea.
that?
It's a
You
reality.
can't say that
It's
having
not
more
an
guards
idea.
is-
Why are you
is
trying
gonna
to
make
protect
people
them from
more
something
violent.
That's actually like
You can't
this
say that
is
with any
real.
kind of certainty because we haven't seen a situation where we've had all of this protection and they're just people just shooting willy-nilly around some elementary school.
You don't
Yeah.
think that we have more guns in this society already and we're not more violent?
I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about specifically in school
I'm
to know
talking
that
school is society.
school is,
So I want to go ahead and
is a
'cause we're-
microcosm of society, but I don't think it's the same thing. Go ahead, Howard.
We're running out of time. I know that time goes by so fast when you're having a good debate,
does.
right? So before we do go, I want to just get everybody's real quick final thoughts before we end it.
Yeah, I think we should absolutely have armed guards in school. I think we need to protect our kids. We need to also teach them, you know, why do we have these guns? Why do the only right people have them to protect you? Like, we need to get on the front lines, but I think we also need to address mental health issues with some of these kids. All of them. We should just kind of talk to them all about what's going on inside. Are you feeling afraid? Are you bullied? Things like that. So we need to deal with it on definitely different levels. But I think that having protection there, prophylactically, getting in front ahead of the issue won't hurt them at all.
Okay, TJ.
I totally agree. I think that while we're doing these mental health screenings or whatever, I think that we should definitely take a proactive stance in protecting our most valuable asset, and that's our children, and try to cultivate them and bring them up in a world where they do feel safe and they don't feel like they have to go cower behind anything, because they need to realize that school should be a safe place to be. You shouldn't have to look over your shoulder at school.
Okay, thank you. Courtney.
Me. I don't think that it's going to solve anything. In fact, I think it'll potentially make it worse. And I think that we're going in a very wrong direction. And if we don't correct it now, we're going to a very dark place very quickly. And as Jackie mentioned earlier, our school system is already strapped in ways that most of us can't even imagine at this point. And to say that we're going to spend money to put more guns in a school just makes absolutely no sense. And we are not helping our children. We're making it worse.
Okay, thank you, Courtney. Jackie?
To piggyback on that, like I said, I definitely think that we don't need guns in the schools. I think it's laughable that all of a sudden we'll have this funding to put guns in every single school. There's always the threat of violence. So if that's the case, that we need to have guns at the schools, at the churches, like I said before, there's no way to sort of counteract this. If it's going to happen, we should have people ready to respond, but I don't think that they need to be on site. I think having guns, teaching people, kids that a gun makes you powerful and strong and you always need to be protected by a gun isn't wise. We need to deal with the other issues in our society. Why do we always go to guns and violence to solve everything? Why can't we talk through things? Why can't we be counseled and educated? So that's fine.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you to my panel. You guys were amazing. Thank you all for joining us. If you want to send us a tweet, send it to @TheDebateTVShow. You can also hit us up on the web at thedebatetvshow@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Howard Henley. We'll see you soon.